Welcome to this Killick Explains video and welcome to the results of another poll. This time I took on the topical subject of ESG investing and I asked the question, how important is it to you as an investor? And so I'll go through the results first and then I want to highlight one or two aspects of ESG for people who went for answer 4. So how important is ESG investing to you? 24.7% answered very important. Then 20.8% said it's quite important. Not very important was 26%. And the winning answer, if you like, at 28.5% was actually it's a bit of a mystery to me, Tim. So I want to deal with that last category in particular because if nothing else, you will see ESG mentioned heavily in the headlines and so on. So first of all, what is ESG investing? Well, first of all, it goes under a number of names. Responsible investing, sustainable investing, ethical investing, ESG investing, so that can be quite confusing. But let's take the E, the S and the G. They stand for criteria by which you select individual investments. Environmental criteria, social criteria and governance criteria. And whilst there are many different international definitions of these, environmental is essentially carbon friendliness. Is this company a polluter? Is it essentially taking steps or has it taken steps to reduce its carbon footprint and so on? Social covers stakeholders such as customers and employees. How are they treated in a nutshell? And governance looks at things like diversity, looks at things like non-executive powers, looks at how the company is structured for both shareholders and other external stakeholders. So you can get more detailed lists of ESG criteria and I have some available, but that's essentially what it's all about. Now, how do you do it? Well, you've got some choices here. You could pay an active fund manager to go out and run a portfolio on ESG or ethical or responsible or sustainable grounds. You could passively invest in a tracking product, or you could build your own portfolio and skew it towards ESG criteria to an extent which ultimately is down to you. Or you could do something we don't recommend, which is to buy single stocks on the basis that they are in some way ESG focused. So, what are the problems? What are some of the challenges of being an ESG investor, if you like? Well, one of them is the breadth of the mandate. There are many different definitions of what is responsible, sustainable or ethical investing, and you have to decide which one you're most comfortable with. Then there's the positive or negative criteria problem. Am I going to simply pick stocks which are meeting the ESG criteria I have set, or am I going to take a different approach and try and exclude companies which don't meet the criteria and leave the rest, if you like? Then there's the, am I looking at a company that is already meeting ESG criteria but might be quite small in terms of its impact, or do I want to go for a bigger company that may not be strictly meeting ESG criteria but is a good way down the path to doing so and therefore has a bigger overall market impact? Then there's the performance angle. Some ESG portfolios outperform the benchmark, some underperform it. There is a variation there, but are you prepared to sacrifice a bit of short-term performance in order to get the ESG criteria, the social, responsible, ethical criteria into your portfolio that you want? And that's a question which is personal to you. There's no ultimately right answer. And then watch out for the bandwagon effect. ESG is popular. Almost every fund seems to have an ESG product these days. So you need to look quite carefully under the bonnet at what exactly is being bought on your behalf and make sure that you're not essentially overpaying for household names which have been marked up simply because so many people have piled into this space and not necessarily because the companies in question are doing a good job on ESG criteria and also a good job in operational and financial terms. So quite a lot to think about. Now, if you'd like to know more, I do have a series of videos, killick.com/learn. You can also email me, editor@killick.com, either to receive a copy of my guides, and one of them is on equity investing, or to find out more about ESG criteria in general.